Good morning. Good morning. I'm Mary Ann Bowie, and I lead the Green Team here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Sarasota. We especially want to welcome our visitors both on campus and over other live streams. We invite our visitors to participate in any of our events. We welcome visitors to find out more about us and Unitarian Universalism. We invite you to consider registering on our virtual guest book, which you can find via the link on the homepage of our website at uucsarasota.com. You'll find the banner at the top marked Welcome Visitors, and if you do register there, we will send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links to our virtual events. If you are here in person, there is a sign-up sheet for visitors, and as always, we invite you to join us for coffee and conversation after the service. This morning, as we have for the last month, we have our Healthy Soils pamphlet for you, since it is Earth Day weekend, and hope you'll pick one up if you haven't yet. Today's Share the Plate special collection will go towards Planned Parenthood, and a representative from the local branch of this community will speak to us later in the service. And now for a musical offering from Don Byrne. So I've totally confused you all. Welcome again. And now we will have a musical offering from Don Byrne. I'd like to read to you the land acknowledgement of our UU Church, written by Linda Bodycom of our congregation as part of a class offered by the UU Service Committee and taught by one of the tribal leaders of the Miccosukee tribe. To be in right relationship with all that is, we hereby acknowledge the indigenous peoples whose land we now occupy and use as our own. The Calusa, the Tocobaga, Timucun, and Seminole peoples lived in villages here before us, were effective stewards of the land, and were often buried in shell middens. Tribes gathered here to avoid hurricanes and to fish in the bays and ocean waters. With gratitude, we acknowledge the original inhabitants of the land and the soil and the oceans that gave them sustenance. We honor the indigenous people. We desire to be better stewards of this land. For welfare of future generations, we will take active steps to learn from the indigenous populations in our area who are still with us, especially the Miccosukee and the Seminole tribes. Let us correct the mistakes made in the past and heal and honor our relationships with the peoples who were here before the Europeans and early settlers came and colonized these lands. Now, I have a quote by Lynn Margulis. Everybody knows what a caterpillar is, and it doesn't look at all like a butterfly. What are you feeling like today? A caterpillar or a butterfly? Are you soaring on your way to your next destination? Or are you a quiet, thoughtful caterpillar, pondering your next move? Carrie is going to light our chalice now. As we light this chalice, the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, we affirm our seventh principle: respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part. You want some help? Okay, you can do it. I told Carrie she has to light a lot of birthday candles before she can strike that match. All right, we're going to now have our opening hymn.
I Welcome, everybody. Our book today, One Earth, written by Eileen Spinelli, illustrated by Rogeria Colho. One wide, sweeping sky, 2 honeybees, 3 bunnies in a nest, and 4 redwood trees. 5 clumps of yellow flowers, 6 turtles snoozing. 7 dolphins in the sea, 8 seagulls cruising. 9 worms underground, and 10 fields to plow. Celebrating Earth. So let's count backwards now. 10 scraps of litter, toss them in the trash. 9 empty bottles, turn them in for cash. 8 plastic grocery bags, weave them into mats. 7 towels getting thin, good for shelter cats. 6 flannel shirts too old, well, they're cozier than new. And 5 lamps to light a room, try to use just 2. 4 pairs of socks with holes, you can learn to sew. And 3 avocado seeds, plant and watch them grow. 2 broken bicycles, fixing can be fun. We're almost finished counting. Now we're down to 1. 1 moon. 1 sun. 1 earth. So beautiful, but remember, only 1. So that is a very simple book, but it's full of meaning. And this week I listened again to some of Carl Sagan's Pale Blue Dot, in which he said, "Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand." And so for that reason, if none other, we must pay attention to the science and do anything and everything that we are able to replenish and renourish our Earth, or at least stop harming it so much. And to start this replenishment project, the religious education families are going to offer to you now, we hope, ushers, we're going to offer you a seed paper, okay? So, please take one, plant it under a little bit of dirt, not very much, give it some water, and watch it grow into wildflowers to help our pollinators. What if you don't have a place to plant it? Then we have some sunny yellow pots filled with dirt in the courtyard after the service to give you. Still not convinced? Then take a seed packet, and on a day when the rains look like they are coming, drive down your street and throw seeds, not at your neighbors, don't throw them at your neighbors, but into the grassy median and watch them grow. So after our offering, all the young UUs will meet up in the West Wing before going to their class.
Thank you, Don. That was beautiful. We're going to have the choir now. We are. Question mark. Yes.
And now it's your opportunity to join it with us. Please join. Oh, be swift to love, and be haste, make haste to be kind, to be kind. Oh, be
It's really wonderful to be back here. Until one is committed, there is a hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. This is that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves in to help. When one is committed, all sorts of things occur to help that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no one could have dreamed would have come their way. This reading is by William Hutchinson Murray, and he said, "I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now." Close quote. And from Thomas Berry, these words, "Perhaps the most valuable heritage we can provide for future generations is some sense of the great work that is before them, of moving the human project from its devastating exploitation of Earth to a benign presence. we need to give the youth some indication of how this next generation can fulfill this work in an effective manner. The question is, have we stopped already, or are we willing to keep going? We and they need to be committed to do this work. Now we'll center in silence.
We're going to keep you on your toes today. My name's Mary Lou Keller, not Marianne Bowie. I'm going to take it from here on. Marianne and I have been working closely on this. This reading is by Sitting Bull. Behold, my brothers, the spring has come. The earth has received the embraces of the sun, and we shall soon see the results of that love. Every seed is awakened, and so has all animal life. It is through this mysterious power that we too have our being, and we therefore yield to our neighbors, even our animal neighbors, the same right as ourselves, to inhabit this land. We're going to be getting back to butterflies in just a few minutes, but for now, we're going to have an opportunity to practice our generosity. Every fourth Sunday, we collect the Share the Plate offering for a local charity, and this month is for Planned Parenthood. Before the offering, I want to let you know that this week, the Board of Trustees of this congregation voted to become the first congregation to join the Spiritual Alliance of Communities for Reproductive Dignity, or SACRED. SACRED is made up of a wide spectrum of religious organizations committed to equity, dignity, and holistic well-being for all people. Central to their mission is the concept that reproductive issues are integral to social justice. You can learn more at sacreddignity.org. Thanks to our newly formed reproductive justice team, with Kate Lanneman bringing this to our attention, and for educating us on how we can be good allies in the struggle for just reproductive rights. You'll be hearing more from that team next week and beyond. And now, I'm pleased to introduce Kira Lynn Ferderber from our local branch of Planned Parenthood.
Hello, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. It's interesting that the children's book that was read and the video on the maturation of a butterfly and the birds and the bees, that's what I talk about. So it's a nice little introduction. I'm an educator for your local Planned Parenthood of Southwest Central Florida. I mostly work there, down on Central and out in the community. I'm sitting here, this isn't my first time here. I'm reflecting on the first time I was ever in this church. It was January 2019. I had moved here just a few weeks before, and I was waiting on my green card. I had left a job in emerging ministries for the United Church of Canada. And I thought, what am I doing in this country? Going to church in this country is very different, and working in healthcare is very different. But what I learned about the UU is a lot of the songs are the same as the United Church of Canada. And so I came here to see someone talk about reproductive justice. And I was a couple weeks into living in Sarasota, which is very different than the city that I'm from. And I was like, what is this church? What is this place? I went on to work for Spark for many years, and some of you might know me from my work with Spark. And what I didn't know is what would be happening in reproductive health care 4 years later. And I didn't know I would be working at Planned Parenthood, but that's what brings me in front of you. So I know that financially, the people in this congregation are supporters of us, and I can't ask you even for more than what you're already doing. Passing the plate for us is amazing. And I want you to know that those dollars will be used tomorrow in our health center. That is what will happen. And I know that you probably know about the health services that we provide at Planned Parenthood. Just a reminder, we're available there for anyone that needs us, even for free or low cost. But in addition to being the largest provider of reproductive health care in the United States, we are also the leading sexual education provider. And that's my side of the job. And I think people understand how urgent the need is for accessible health care, whatever somebody needs right now. I'm sure people in this room understand that. But what I know as an educator is it's not as common for people to understand the links between sexual health education and their health outcomes. But we are currently dealing with a generation of young adults in Sarasota who mostly had no or incorrect education about how their body works. So I am not going to ask you for more than you're giving out of your pocket, but if I can ask you for another thing, it would be to join me, and I'm sure many of you already are, in breaking down the stigma about talking about sexual wellness, health, how people's bodies work. Because those of us that look to the Bible or other scripture or were raised to, we really have to be louder than the people who use those words to bring shame, especially to young people. And so my career has been dedicated to sexual abuse prevention and response, and I can tell you that shame is the enemy in every job I've ever had, whether it's working at an abortion provider, working at a domestic violence agency. For our young people and everyone, we need to bring them into a space where their bodies are not a source of shame, and they need fundamental information about how their bodies work before they will even know to walk in our door. So those of you with young people in your lives, those of you that attend school events, then you can join me in that. And I just want to say on behalf of the physicians, the nurses, the educators, everybody who's working in that building, it means so much to see a congregation like this supporting us, because there are people every day when I walk into work who tells me that their church is ashamed of me, and it hurts. And so it means a lot to see you love us openly and in public, and I just want to thank you for being part of fighting that shame, and thanks for having us here in your congregation.
The special offering for Planned Parenthood will now be taken and gratefully received. Please be generous with this urgently needed cause. For those online or anyone here on their cell phone, there's a link to donate in the description of the YouTube video or on our website right under the description of today's service. Let this sacred time begin. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Jim West. Let's get back to butterflies. I love the birds and the bees reference, though. That was great. I wondered how to connect Planned Parenthood and butterflies. Birds and the bees. Perfect. Jim West is a native of DeLand, Florida. He's a former owner of Stetson's Flower and Gift Shop and a retired high school teacher. He learned his landscaping skills from his father and uncle, and then he taught special needs kids at DeLand High School, and mostly boys at Lincoln High School in Tallahassee, planting a 2,000 plant butterfly garden 16 years ago as part of his 8,000 plant landscape plan. Since retiring, he continues to teach adult gardening classes and design gardens for butterfly enthusiasts. He's a member of Monarch City USA and the Butterfly Society, and he's devoted to increasing butterfly habitats so these amazing creatures can survive. Jim recently spoke to the Lakewood Ranch Garden Club, and their members are working toward Lakewood Ranch being part of Monarch City USA, a designation showing environmental responsibility. Our church is doing its part. We have a new butterfly garden beside our kitchen over on the left there, which was the result of Bob Milner's excellent efforts. We will have milkweed plants periodically at the green team table over by the social justice tables. And today, Jim will have butterfly-friendly plants available in the courtyard after the service. On this Earth Day weekend, please commit to being part of a historic effort to revitalize our pollinator populations and ease the plight of the monarchs. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Jim West.
Here we go. Flying into your life right here, butterflies coming home to Texas from Mexico. Glad to have you all here today. Thank you. There you are. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate Mary Ann and Mary Lou to have me come here, and after they heard me speak, I said, well, it's good always to hear when somebody likes what you've done, so it's always great to do that. Thank you, too, for Jim and Marie for being my great host and hostess, and we've enjoyed our time. Suki's down here with me as well with her brand new knee, hobbling along to help us with the plant sale. Today we're going to talk to you about the plight of the monarch butterfly. Over the years, going back 500 years in history, we know that monarch butterflies came to the mountains of Mexico. They did not know where they came from. They did not know where they went home to. That's still the same in a lot of places high up in the mountains at 10,000 feet elevation, where you will see the monarch butterflies as they migrate from as far away as Halifax, Nova Scotia. 3,000 miles they fly to get to the mountains. So let me give you a little update on what's going on with the The monarchs. You want to flick that slide for me? There we go. We call this Lepidoptera. When we start our program in Tallahassee, we call it Lepidoptera Studies. The study of Lepidoptera is the study of butterflies and moths. Both of them are very important for pollination. So that's why we have the study in schools, and that's why we're trying to get our children to kind of lead the way for the future of what we're going to be doing with butterflies and moths and our pollinators throughout time. Indeed, it's important that each and every one of us realize that we can do something ourselves to help the pollination process in your garden. So please think about doing that as we go through this program. Klaus? Here we go. 165,000 species of Lepidoptera, 150,000 of them are moths. They've been around a lot longer than the butterflies. About 15,000 species of butterflies, but we're losing species every day, especially those in Polynesia and in the South American continent. But we move forward with that, and we talk about the life cycle of the butterfly. We all know that they go through transformation. It's a miracle that has been going on for years and years, and they come out as an egg, always laid on their larval food, the food that the caterpillar is going to eat. In the case of the monarch, it's milkweed, so you want to be putting some of that in your garden. The egg, the egg is very small, about the size of a head pin. The picture you see here is about 50 times magnified. And there's a little black dot on the top of the egg that will tell you that on the 5th day that the egg has been laid, the caterpillar is going to come. So we go from stage 1 to stage 2. The little black nose cone on those caterpillars only stay on for 48 hours. That gets them out of the egg casing. They eat the egg casing because that's the highest protein, and then they get ready to go to the next stage, which is stage 3, the pupa. For the butterfly, this is amazing to watch. If you've never seen this, please take the time to see how a caterpillar transforms into a chrysalis. Make it work, Klaus. It's much like watching your fingernail that you just slammed in the door come off of your finger. When the caterpillar turns upside down in its J shape like that, it's going to crack open the back of its head, and it's going to move forward in about 12 to 15 minutes into a green, very soft green shell that you couldn't believe it could be a whole caterpillar. There it is. There's the transformation from the J shape all the way to chrysalis. It takes about 15 minutes total time. After stage 3, we go to stage 4, the adult. And in this case, we're going to show you the difference between a male and female. There are very few butterflies you can actually find that do this, but the monarch is one. If it has black dots on the hind wings, it's a male. Those are pheromone patches. We call it the elixir because it goes out to get the female to come to mate. The female can smell a male a mile and a half away, they say. And they can mate on the day that they emerge from their chrysalis. That's even more amazing to me. So we have our new adults. We're going to have 4 generations here in North America. This is what the butterfly is going to look like when it comes out. If you've never seen this happen, I had 17-year-old boys in my class would make me stop teaching just to watch this happen. Here inside of a small package, less than an inch and a half, is a full 3.5-inch butterfly that's going to come out of that chrysalis, right? Come on, buddy. You can do it. He's in there upside down. Remember, he was in the J shape, upside down. So he's upside down in his chrysalis. And when he starts to come out, he's going to force himself out through the bottom. As he pushes and pushes and pushes. And it's interesting, you can't help a butterfly out. If you do, it won't survive. It's got to struggle. Much like our lives, we have to struggle to get through to some of the fabulous places we go. So it cracks open. Here comes the head. Now remember, this was a caterpillar that now has wings. This is truly a miracle. No test tube babies have ever been made into butterflies. And we have children that just sit in awe of watching this going on every day in our classrooms. When I was at DeLand High School, we started a program. We went out to elementary schools and built butterfly gardens for the elementary school kids, and they got to see this firsthand. And it can be life-changing if you've never had an opportunity to see it. Get you a cage and a few milkweed plants, and there you go. It takes about 20 minutes for those wings to fill with the liquid that came from the caterpillar eating the milkweed. 2 hours later, his wings are full and stable, and they can fly. And I've actually seen them mate just as they fly away for the first time, which is crazy. Now here's what's so amazing. Look how bright and vibrant the colors are, the orange, the black, the white. During migration, these butterflies fly 3,000 miles down to the Mexico mountains, and they look just as pristine there as they will in your backyard after 3,000 miles. Miracle. I talked to the professor from the University of Florida. He says we have a new enzyme in the 4th generation or 4th instar that is actually allowing the butterfly to stay prepubescent during their visit to the mountains of Mexico. Then when they come back to Texas, they start mating, usually about this time of year, March into April. Okay? We're going to pass on that. Migration is in 4 flyways. If you look at the United States, the 4 flyways are from the East Coast in the Appalachian Mountains down through the Great Lakes, the Plain States, and then the Mountain States. And then the 5th one is the California group. They come down to Pacific Grove, California. So if you ever want to go see monarchs en masse in the months of January and February, Pacific Grove, California is the place you want to go. Okay? And after we get them migrated, they get down to Mexico. What you're seeing is what's called an explosion. When I was there, I asked the professor, how many butterflies do you think are here today? He says, oh, only about 125, 150 million. Like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. I can't wrap my arm around that number. How many are in that big ball? It was 34 degrees that morning, so they're all gathering together to stay warm. Big balls. He said, oh, probably 20 or 25,000. He says, you know why they want you to be quiet? I said, so you don't wake them up? He said, no. When the butterflies leave, they call it an explosion. Within 10 seconds, that ball becomes what you see on the screen, full of butterflies. And you can hear the wind moving by the wings of 25,000 butterflies. That's a nice miracle. So now you're all the way up in El Rosario, Mexico, in the mountains at 10,000 feet. You've taken a bus ride. You've taken a horse ride. You've probably hiked a little bit, and you're exhausted. But you're surrounded by this beautiful view of all these butterflies that have come from so far away, 3,000 miles, some of them. They all rest on these fir trees. It has been basically the economy of the people that live up in the mountains for the last 500 years. So we've had to do a lot of negotiating with them so we can find tagged butterflies that we tag here in the United States and in Canada. As they go to Mexico, they get paid to find those tags instead of cutting down the trees, which is a good thing. And finally, return migration is what's happening in the month of March and May. When I go down to Mexico, I usually go down the beginning of March so I can see them in their full glory. And then as they start to gather, they will actually start mating down there. But usually most of them get all the way to the Texas Gulf Coast, and then they start mating there. Those butterflies are the ones that fly north and fill up the areas in southern Canada and northern United States areas. I've seen them in large clusters in West Virginia mountains. I've seen them on Cape Cod. I've seen them in California. It's an amazing thing to see, 25,000 butterflies at one time. So we returned back to the United States, and now we looked at the reality of a male and female. This is the mimicry. There's actually a butterfly called the Viceroy that's on your right there that has lateral lines. It does not eat milkweed. It is not poisonous. It just wants everybody else to think they are poisonous. So they look like a monarch butterfly. And what can we do? Clearly, there's something each and every one of us can do every day to help these pollinators continue to do the lifeblood of what we're all about. If we don't have pollination, we don't have food. But basic bottom line. So plant plants in your garden that will attract pollinators, mostly butterflies, bees. Those are the key too. We offer an organization from Gainesville, Florida. The Holbrook Travel is a group that we go with when we go to Mexico. So if you have an opportunity to go do that, that would be good. Please try not to use pesticides in your garden. I know that's hard when you got lubbers and caterpillars and other things coming, but as much as possible, we try to keep from doing all that. So that's what we are all about. We want schools, every school should have a butterfly garden. We did 22 gardens at DeLand High School with my special needs kids, and they loved it. They just thought that was the greatest thing. And so even when I went to Tallahassee and we planted that 8,000 plant garden, high school boys loved digging in that red clay. All right, I want you to see what it's like. If you would just take a minute and lean back and rest a minute for your eyes to see what the magnificent monarchs look like on the journey north. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. That was very impressive. I think Jim is a fine example of what Marianne, or I think someone mentioned earlier, Catherine or Marianne, about what one person can do. By going around the world and talking about butterflies and selling the butterfly plants and everything, it's good to be passionate about something. So, all right, I'd like you to join me now with our closing hymn, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. That's good. 1 through 4, we're good. Thank you. All right. I want to actually thank Don Bryn that he placed the choir around so that when we were singing, it was wonderful to have the group with us, kind of resonating through us. So thank you very much, Don. And here's our closing words by M.J. Sim Hui. I have come to terms with the future. From this day onward, I will walk easy on the earth. Plant trees. Kill no living things. Live in harmony with all creatures. I will restore the earth where I am. Use no more resources than I need. And listen to what the earth is telling me. And now let us extinguish this chalice. Thank you.